Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this live. I am coming to you from Los Angeles. I don't know why I sound like a newscaster right now, but it felt right. So we're just going to go with it. I am coming to you guys from Los Angeles. So I'm on the Pacific Coast time. So that is 1 p.m. my time. So anybody who's on the East Coast, I'm assuming that's probably going to be around 4 o'clock your time. However, I wanted to do this live on a Saturday because I felt like more people are off. It's the weekend, more people can join, and you guys can really benefit from the information. Um, Usually I do my lives in my office, but it was so sunny in my bedroom, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my live from my bedroom. If for any reason you guys hear my dog bark, it's because I got my dog in the back, and he's hiding underneath the blanket. If you guys can hear me, please let me know. That's one thing that I'm always paranoid about is whether you guys can hear me or not. Once I get confirmation that you can hear me, then we will start. And also, let me know where you guys are from. Leave it in the chat box. I love this global community that we have created here. So let me know where you are from. In case you do not know who I am, my name is Danny, and I'm one of the head coaches for the Love Advice TV um, channel with my ex again, happily committed, all of that good stuff. So great. I'm hearing that you guys can hear me. That is fantastic. Let's see where we have people joining from. We have people from Sweden, Toronto, Morocco, from Columbus, Ohio, Rhode Island, South Africa, California. Hello, fellow Californian. From Malta. That is amazing. That's what I'm saying. Global community, incredible. All right, so I do not want to waste any more time because time is precious, and I'm sure that you guys want to get straight to the point. So if you guys notice, the title of the live is I am meeting up with my ex for the first time post breakup. What the do I do? So maybe you are currently in this situation. Maybe it's a situation that you have been in before. Whatever the case may be, there are essentially two very important things that you want to do. So, number one, do not bring up anything about the relationship, the breakup, any of those types of things. And I know that that might seem obvious, but it's a lot harder than it may seem because sometimes we feel like we don't have things to talk about. Sometimes the last interaction that we had with that person is what's at the tip of our tongue when we see them the first time. Maybe if it's the first time that you see them after the breakup, there's things that you want to say in regards to how you felt about the situation or apologizing for something. Whatever it is, as tempting as that may be, don't do it. And the reason for why I say don't do it is because number one, if you guys broke up, there's a reason for why you broke up, right? So there was either an issue with compatibility, maybe the intimacy and the connection had faded, maybe there were issues of trust within the relationship. Whatever the case may be, it resulted in you guys growing apart and eventually cutting the relationship off, right? So there has to be some level of frustration or anger or just negative emotion that's attached to the breakup itself. And if it's been a period of time since you've seen them, the first time that you see them, you do not want to go right back to that place psychologically, right? You don't want to remind them of that event or that occurrence because what ends up happening is in that moment, that is what they attach to emotionally. And that is what they're going to think of, or that's what's going to be on their mind the whole time they're talking to you. They're going to be remembering what happened. And that's not something that you want, right? Depending on what your goals are. So, oftentimes, when we deal with a breakup, there are two things that we want. We either want closure or we want to try to reconcile the relationship. If you want closure, say what you want, right? There's no need to filter yourself if you just want to say your piece and walk away. But if you're trying to reconcile the relationship and you're trying to reattract your ex, talking about the previous relationship is not going to work for you. Now, the second thing here, and the second most important part, I'm sorry if I'm scratching my nose a lot. I have allergies and it's LA and So the second thing here is You want to make sure that it is an interaction that leaves a good taste in their mouth, no pun intended. So essentially what I mean by that is you want to make sure that it is a fun, casual encounter, but it also leaves a lasting impression. So often there's this common misconception that as soon as you meet your ex for the first time, there's going to be all of these sparks and you're going to, you know, set off into the sunset and be happily ever after. Sometimes it takes a little while for your ex to reach out to you after that initial meeting. And sometimes you have to be the person to engage after that meeting. But that being said, you want to make sure that it feels good. You want it to be reminiscent of the first time you guys met when you first started dating, right? There's something about your personality that attracted them to you in the first place. There is something about your energy, your essence, your personality, which is why they decided to devote themselves to you and commit to a relationship. And we forget that, right? Because it's kind of buried under this history of stuff that may not be so great. There's pain there, there's frustration, there's anger, but there's also fantastic memories, happy memories, joyous things, excitement. And really trying to focus on those things is incredibly important. Because let's say, for example, they've been on the dating market for a little bit and they're just not really having any luck because let's be real, the dating market kind of sucks for a lot of people. So, this is your perfect opportunity to really lean into nostalgia. The reason why I say this is because nostalgia is one of the strongest emotions that we have that can help us to re-attract our ex. Now, there's a difference between leaning on nostalgia and leveraging that and manipulation. So, let's be clear. Manipulation, no, no. Nostalgia, it's good because nostalgia basically means that you are helping that person to remember the positive aspects of the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to start talking about all the great times that you had and things that you did. No, it's just in the way that you are interacting with that person, the exchange of energy, that very kind of fun, carefree, casual energy is going to be nostalgic of when you guys first started dating. So it doesn't require specific words of reminding them about those times. It's just about physically and energetically reminding them about that time. Now, before I move on, if you guys are on this live and you're in this situation and you're needing help, I'm going to provide you guys with the best promotion at the end of the live. So if you stick around until the very end, you will benefit from it. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. So stick around. All right. So that being said, nostalgia, one of the greatest feelings, emotions that you can leverage. Now, the question always becomes okay, great. I had an interaction with my ex. It was super positive. What do I do now? What's the next step? And I always remind people of the no contact period, right? So the reason for why you went into a no contact period was to be able to ground yourself, to release yourself of those anxieties and that needy, clingy behavior and wanting to check in and see what's going on and being in control of the results. This approach should be one of connection, not attachment. So that moment that you shared with your ex was a connection, and that connection should have been strong enough that it planted a seed of curiosity in their mind, nostalgia, and will influence them or inspire them to want to reach out. But here's the thing, sometimes they don't. And the reason for why they don't sometimes is because they're nervous or they're scared or they're anxious or they don't know what to expect. And maybe they're just not in a place emotionally that they're wanting to reinvest into a relationship. So there's a part of them that's afraid that if they do reach out to you, they're going to lead you on and all of these types of things. And that's where you really have to navigate and control your own personal emotion. That's where you really have to show up and present yourself in a way of, hey, look, I'm not trying to jump right back into a relationship. So if that's your concern, you don't have to worry about that, right? And sometimes that takes you taking the lead. And if you don't hear from your ex, A week after that meetup, reach out. There's nothing wrong about that. Now we can get into different issues, right? So whether you're blocked, whether you're not blocked, or all those types of things. But my assumption would be if you had a fantastic meetup with that person, then the door's open, right? The bridge is there for communication. So why not leverage it and take advantage of it? Sometimes we're so scared to take action because we want the other person to take action because that would be validation for us that they are still interested, which helps us to feel more secure because there's a fear here, right? There's a fear that, okay, if I jump into this again, am I going to get hurt again? And you don't want that. And I completely understand that. But sometimes without risk, there's no reward. So might as well try. And you reaching out shows a level of confidence. Now, I want to kind of give a PSA here. If you were the person that was incessantly reaching out to your ex after the breakup, and that was one of the reasons for why they basically stopped talking to you, cut you off, blocked you, whatever the case may be, then my recommendation would be it's not a bad thing to take the lead and reach out if you guys have a meetup and it's a positive one, right? But don't overdo it. Scale back, be more relaxed with it. Because if you are not, and you start to really overly reach out and overly communicate, it's going to be a trigger for them because of the previous experience that you guys had. And I know a lot of this stuff may seem like, okay, there's so many different layers to it. And realistically speaking, there are, which is why we always recommend one on one coaching sessions because every person's situation is completely different. And sometimes that first impression post breakup changes the entire trajectory of the dynamic that you guys will form and where that goes. So, having a coach by your side and having somebody that can walk you through that process is incredibly helpful and it has helped so many people before. So if that's you, if that's a position that you're in, I highly recommend it. And that's a little hint as to what you guys can be expecting towards the end of the live, that discount that I was talking about, that promotion. So all of that to say, there are two primary things that you want to take into consideration. Number one, you want to ensure that you are not bringing up the past. You're not talking about the previous relationship. You're not talking about the breakup. You're not being negative in any way. And number two, make sure that it is a memorable connection, a memorable meetup, a reminiscent, a reminder of who you are, right? That personality, that vivaciousness and that energy that attracted them to you in the first place. And let's be real, if you're able to pull that off, it is the biggest confidence boost for you. And the last one that I want to add is patience. Patience is key throughout this process. I tell people all the time, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So if you think that you're going to meet your ex and immediately you guys are going to jump right back into a relationship, that's not realistic. Sometimes maybe it is, right? I don't want to say that it's impossible, but realistically speaking, there's there's a road that you have to travel down before that happens. There's a new dynamic that has to be developed. There's new energy that has to be exchanged. There's a new connection that has to be developed. And realistically speaking, the trust has to be rebuilt. So patience is key. And where most people trip up is the patience aspect, right? We have an expectation in our mind of what we want. And unfortunately, what happens is that we project that expectation onto that other person. And if they're not there mentally and emotionally, and they're doing their thing, then you become disappointed. And when you become disappointed, that's when the anxieties and the stresses and all of those things start to bubble up and we start to act in ways that we would normally not act. So patience is key. So those are the three main things that you want to take into consideration. I wanted to keep them short. I wanted to keep them very concise because sometimes, there's so many things that we can add and it just gets really confusing. So, and everybody's situation is different. So, what were the three main things that I could apply to everybody's situation that you can utilize now or in the future if that is a potential for you to meet up with your ex? It is those three. Do not bring up the past. Make sure that you make it a memorable encounter by being super laid back and casual and fun, and that you are patient. Um, I also wanted to I always take a few minutes to answer some questions in the chat box. So I'm going to scroll back and take a look at some of the questions. I'm probably not going to answer them in order, so don't get upset if I don't. I kind of just like to pick at random and see what you guys have to say. So let's see. Let's see. Nastasha Haya was broken up with 2 weeks ago. Have a one-on-one with you next week. Yay! Fantastic. I am looking forward to it. And actually, yep, I have you in my calendar. So I am looking forward to that conversation. And thank you for sending the brief recap prior. Let's see. May Billy the Ray. Hey, Danny, I bought a one-on-one session with you, but I don't know when the session will be. I only got a receipt. I never got any details. So if you did not get any details, if that's something that you recently purchased, I will provide you with my email in the chat box and you can email me directly there and I will ensure that we set something up. Anytime somebody books a one-on-one coaching session, if you don't hear from me within 24 hours, it's possible that there's a technical issue. So reaching out to customer service, number one, is the best option or the best thing to do first. And then number two, with the email that I provide you, you can reach out to me directly. So I am sorry for the inconvenience. I'm sorry that you haven't received any details, but I will absolutely reach out to you. Also, I reached out to a bunch of people this morning who had booked sessions. Make sure you check your junk and your spam folder. For some reason, my email ends up landing in people's junk and spam folder. So check there first. Let's see. SV, hi, I ruined my meeting and got blocked again. I think it was last. Is there any way to meet again? First and foremost, I'm sorry. I empathize with you. I know how difficult that is. It's extremely anxiety inducing, right? Because we sometimes feel like that meetup was the only opportunity and the last opportunity. Realistically speaking, is it possible to come back patients? I cut out there. Sorry. So I wanted to pause for a minute. Let me just double check to make sure the Wi-Fi is good. The Wi-Fi is good. Okay. Time and patience, right? So here's my recommendation. I would say give it another 30 days and then we reevaluate. I would highly recommend taking advantage of the promotion that I am sending right now. So check the chat box, guys. Please make sure you check the chat box. Um, Essentially, what this is that this is a link to our success managers, and you are not going to want to miss out on this opportunity. Click on that link, set up a call with them. They will get you set up with one of us based on your specific situation, and they will offer you an incredible discount. So the prices that you see on the you can't get this discount. So make sure you are taking advantage of that. I will put it in here one more time. Take advantage of that. So SV for you, I'd say let's give it 30 days. Make sure you get on the phone with one of the success managers and set up a call with us so that we can create an action plan moving forward. Because realistically speaking, you're going to need some support and help on this one. Let's see. Robbie Gill, my ex broke up with me a month ago. I did a lot of mistakes, baking and all, but she didn't want with me anymore. But now I start with no contact for the last 4 days. But now sometimes I feel anxious. What should I do? Can you give me some advice? 100%. First of all, Robbie, you're not alone. Anybody who transitions into a no contact period, it's a struggle because there is this part of us that wants to physically take action to try to regain control of the situation. But I want you to remember something. It's a mind game. You choosing to not reach out to your ex and you choosing to stay in a no contact period is actually you in control. You are doing something opposite of what you naturally, organically would want to do, which means that takes a lot of self control and discipline. So, number one, you are in control. So, if you feel out of control, get that out of your mind now. The second thing here is that you want to make sure that you are filling your days with productive things to do. It's in the downtime that we really struggle because that negative downtime and that negative space allows our minds to do what it does best, which is to wander and create scenarios and theoreticals and all of these things. You're not going to be able to avoid it 100%, but at least you'll be able to kind of mute that voice a little bit by packing your days with things to do. Now, don't overdo it because you need time and you need rest, but do things that are going to contribute to your self-esteem, right? Physical activity, meditation, journaling. If you've never meditated before, there's an app that I highly recommend. It's called Insight Timer. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to use. It's free. It's very well organized for beginner, intermediate, and specifically what you need, right? Anxiety, stress, all of those things. And they're all guided meditations. So if there's anything that I could recommend, it would be that. Let's see. Muscular lifestyle. My girlfriend broke up with me. I like the handle, man. um, or woman. Don't know. Don't want to assume. My girlfriend broke up with me exactly 32 days back, and 31 days back, she gets into a new relationship with a guy she met in her sister's wedding. They are both in a long distance relationship after day one. It's been no contact for almost a month. We were together since 3.5 years and live in a relationship. So, for 1.5 years, should I break no contact now? And how I want her back. Okay, so number one, I know that you want her back, and I completely understand that. You said that you've been basically in a no contact period. Let me double check. It's been 31 days back since you got into a new relationship, and you guys broke up exactly 32 days ago. So basically, the day after you guys broke up, she got into a relationship with this other person. I understand how difficult that is, but 30 days is not necessarily quite enough to open the lines of communication. And the reason why I say that is because you want to wait just a little bit more. And people may say, okay, well, what's the point of that and all that? Because then they're going to build a stronger connection to this person and all those things. But you also want to look at the opposite side of that. You want to avoid her feeling like you're trying to sabotage her new relationship. So if you are going to reach out to her, it has to be very curated and very tailored to the situation, right? So number one, it would take me understanding the history of the relationship, what happened, the issues that were there, and how we can basically create an angle to get in. So, one, she does not feel like you're trying to manipulate her out of the relationship because realistically speaking, that's not my style. I don't like to get people to cheat on other people. That's against everything that, I stand for. So, it has to be a very specific way of reaching out, one that is comfortable, one that is re-engaging, one that establishes connection, and then again, we utilize nostalgia to really start to kind of make that person second guess their decision. It's very possible that it's a rebound relationship. It's very possible that she was feeling lonely and wanted validation. Whatever the case may be, it's not impossible, but it has to be approached in a very specific way. So I would highly recommend taking advantage of that link that I provided for you. Let's see here. Let's see. Rosa, Coach Danny, I'm in no contact for 14 days. Tomorrow is his birthday. Danny, do I send a birthday message or what would you do? Thanks, Rosa from South Africa. So, again, I think it kind of just depends on the breakup and what happened. If it was a hostile breakup, I would probably avoid sending a happy birthday message. If it was a neutral breakup, an amicable breakup, or even a breakup that wasn't like overly dramatic, why not? It's okay to open up the lines of communication. And actually, it's the perfect opportunity to test the waters and see where he's at mentally and emotionally. So do it. Just be very neutral about it. Hey, I just wanted to send you a happy birthday. I hope you're having an incredible day, and just leave it at that and see what the response is. If it's a very close ended response, like thank you with the period, I would probably back off and leave it because that's a very clear indication that there's a boundary that he's drawing there. If it's a positive response, fantastic. Play into it and try to keep the conversation going. If you get no response whatsoever, leave it. Let's see. Batul, you are amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, I love what I do. I love being here with you guys. This is so fulfilling for me, and you guys inspire me every day. So, no, it's a pleasure to be here. All right, guys, that is all the time that I have right now. I'm going to put the link again in the chat box. Do not miss that opportunity. I'm telling you, you are not going to want to miss out having a call with our success managers. They are incredible and they will be able to get you sorted out. And honestly, this promotion is fire. You're not going to see another promotion like this for quite some time. And as promised, I'm going to leave my email in the chat box right here. I'm going to do it one more time because I like to do things in pairs. So if you guys have any questions about booking, if you're having any issues with a booking that you already did, make sure that you reach out to me. But again, check your junk and your spam folder because it usually ends up landing in there. Um, I loved having this time with you guys. I hope you guys are having an amazing Saturday, and I will see you guys next week for the next topic. Make sure you are on the lookout for what that will be. See you guys.